All right, and we are live.
Yay.
All right. Hey everyone. Welcome to the AT&T Inspired Mobility Hangout. My name is Jason Caston. I'm creator and author of the iChurch Method. I also work with TD Jakes Ministries and the Potter's House, leading their social and digital outreach. We have an exciting discussion planned for you all today. But before we get started, I want to make a few introductions. For those new to the Inspired Mobility platform, it's a national conversation that explores the many ways people use tools like phones, tablets, all things mobile, and internet technology to uplift, connect, and inspire their faith. This conversation was launched in 2014, and this year I've had the pleasure of continuing the conversation with Grammy Award winning artist Lecrae at the Blogging While Brown conference in Austin, Texas. But here today to help us keep the convo going is best-selling author, life coach, and speaker Valorie Burton. Wave to everybody, Valerie. Let them know who you are.
Hello. It's so good to be with you, Jason.
Hey, glad to have you. Valerie is dedicated to helping people get unstuck and be unstoppable in every area of life. Doesn't that sound great? She is the founder of the Coaching and Positive Psychology Institute and has served as a certified personal and executive coach to hundreds of clients in more than 40 states and 10 countries. Also joining us is AT&T Inspired Mobility blogger Nikki Carpenter of Nikki in the City. Nikki, wave to everybody. Let them know who you are.
Hello. Hi, guys.
Hey, glad you're here, Nikki. And
Thank
she'll be
you.
sharing her opinions as well as taking questions from viewers at the end of the Hangout. So let's get started. We encourage you to send questions via the Google Hangout comment section or on Twitter using the hashtag InspireMobility. We'll be monitoring questions and we will get to them at the end. Nikki will let us know what they are. So last week, AT&T released new research that found more people connect with their faith using technology versus actually attending a service. Now, in the survey, 40% of the respondents said they use a mobile phone, tablet, or laptop to connect to faith-based organizations or inspirational sites. That compares to about a third who said they regularly attend worship service. Now, this is a huge cultural shift. For a while, people thought that people, especially millennials, were just leaving church and religion, period. And this paints quite a different picture. So now, let's ask Valerie. Valerie, what impact do you think technology will have on the future of some of our more traditional practices like organized religion?
Well, I think it has enhanced the experience. I think, obviously, um, for a younger generation, it's absolutely essential. But I think even for Gen Xers and even baby boomers, that having the access to technology means being able to find really great spiritual content, whether it's sermons or books that they're reading or going online, Facebook, Twitter. A lot of times people just want those little nuggets. And then, of course, all of us who attend church have had the experience over the last few years of seeing Bibles, in hand disappear because we have them on our phones and so forth. So I think there are so many different ways that technology is integrating into the worship experience, and I think it's a really good thing because geographically it makes it a lot easier to access
So then,
information and access.
okay, okay. Now, Nikki, what do you think about as far as how technology will have on the future of our more traditional practice like organized religion?
Well, nowadays it's not a bad idea. It's not considered taboo to go to church from your bed because I see people all the time, if they're not feeling well, they can go to Sunday service right there with their pillow and their blanket because we now can broadcast our services. We can share the messages, like Miss Valerie said, through Facebook, through Twitter. We share memes. And so technology is allowing us to stay connected and to stay true to our values, but we now have more access to everything.
And I think that's what the internet is really is giving us overall, is giving us access. We don't want to use technology all throughout the week, and then when we decide to go to our houses of worship, we immediately step back in time. So what I've seen, and I see Valerie and Nikki, you guys are accentuating this, that we see the message, hear the message, and we know the message is staying the same. It's impactful, life-changing, but the methods continue to evolve. And so with each of the ways that we communicate with our families and our business and with each other, our communication methods continue to evolve, And so as we've seen times and technology evolve, we now use things such as mobile. As AT&T talks about mobilizing our world, we're using mobile technology to enhance our faith-based experience. Now, according to the research, people who are connecting to their faith using mobile technology are doing things like downloading inspirational music, streaming services, studying, and again, as Valorie said, accessing the Bible, online while they're in church services. So you're seeing the lines are blurring between offline and online and traditional church experience and the online church experience, and we're seeing it all come together. So now, Valorie, what are some of the common ways you see people using technology to access inspirational content to stay connected to their faith, as well as working with you?
Well, there's two things. One, as I was thinking about your previous question, and from a very obvious thing, I worship in a church where 5 or 10 years ago, I probably would have told you I would not do that. My pastor, the teaching pastor, as they call him, is not in the service. We watch via screens, but the worship is live, and there is a campus pastor, and the small groups are very, very strong. It's a very strong community, but it's the technology that allows the church to have multiple geographic locations and multiple communities. And the first time I went, I was like, I don't know about this, but within a few minutes, I forgot that he wasn't actually standing up there, and the message and the content is so strong that it really didn't matter to me, especially because I made connections, my husband and I, with people right there in that congregation. So when we talk about the future of church, even though many people resist it, I think we will see more and more of that, especially with messages that are truly resonating with people. And then in terms of, and on an individual level, how we use the technology as an inspirational, putting out inspirational content, even just little tidbits online, and I watch how people respond. For example, on Mondays, I always pray a prayer over all of my Facebook fans, and the response is always like, oh, Valorie, that was just for me. There's this sense that we can connect through technology, and we can share our faith, and we can pray together, and we can be inspired together. And it just makes the world smaller, which means from a faith perspective, we have greater access to more people who share our faith and can share the encouragement and share the ideas.
So Valorie, do you think that this builds community online? Because from a traditional sense, people can look at community and say it has to be face-to-face or in person, but do you see this building community online?
It's really amazing to me because I'm often touched when I see on my Facebook page, for example, one fan talk about, here's what I'm dealing with, or my daughter's dealing with this, or I just lost a spouse, and others come along and pray prayers right there online to someone they don't even know, because they just, heart to heart, when people share their heart, others are moved by it. So I think the online community, and that sense that I can sit in my bedroom or my living room or wherever it is, sitting in Starbucks or wherever it is that you are, and that you can connect with others who share an experience. I think most of us who've experienced that realize that doesn't have to be face-to-face. And that doesn't mean face-to-face isn't important, but I think it does tell us that the technology allows us to connect heart to heart, and I think that's really, really powerful.
Oh, that's amazing. And before I get to you, Nikki, I have to put this tidbit in here because I've spoken with, since we're looking at this from the church experience perspective for some of the things we talk about here, I've seen instances where churches were resistant to technology or resistant to the online church because they thought it was going to supplant the traditional church, but it's just there to supplement it. It's just to use a way for us to reach this digital missionary field with over 3 billion internet users and over 6 billion mobile devices out here. We have the ways, tools, technologies, and platforms to reach people around the globe in an instant. So now, let's look at this. We know that African Americans are early adopters of technology, and research showed that we over-index in social media usage. And AT&T's research seems to point to that as well for faith and mobility. So also with African Americans who connect to their faith through mobile devices are more than likely to use social platforms in their faith, with Facebook being the most used, YouTube and Twitter. So Nikki, why do you think African Americans are embracing technology within their faith practices more than other ethnicities?
You know, Jason, we are a people of expression, from our dance, from our lifestyle, you know, like we're inspired by music. We like to express ourselves. And so what better way to express yourself via technology through social media, a blog, or whatever you may have it. We love to express ourselves. And so if we hear something that inspires us, we can't keep it to ourselves. We're going to go on Facebook. We're going to go on Twitter. If we're angry about something, even when it comes to our political outlooks, we are very loud about what we believe and what we want to share. And that's just who we are as a people.
That's true. That's true. Giving us a platform to do that. Hey, Valorie, why do you think African Americans are embracing technology with their faith practice or inspirational practices more than others?
Well, I think Nikki's really on point about expression. That wasn't even a term I thought of, but we are very expressive. As a group, we tend to be very expressive, but also we tend to be very faith-oriented. And as an author, I can tell you when I'm going out and I'm promoting a book, for example, in secular media, I can pretty much assume if it's not let's say a black radio station or an African American network, that I'm going to be careful about how I describe faith. People know I'm a Christian, but I want to be respectful when I'm not speaking in that environment. But if I'm speaking on an R&B station or I'm speaking on a hip hop station, I know that I can express faith and it's not ever going to be an issue. It's readily accepted. And I think that's just a part of our community. What's made us strong and what's kept us moving oftentimes through very difficult circumstances has been our faith. So you couple that with the technology and the expressiveness, and I think it makes a great deal of sense that African Americans have kind of latched on to technology as another way to enhance their faith.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. And I've seen, when you look at mainstream media, we're starting to see Black Twitter, the term being embraced, and even I think the LA Times had a reporter they assigned just to Black Twitter, and stuff like that. But even with me working with the Potter's House and someone with Bishop Jakes, who has a platform that reached millions around the world, and then when we added the digital aspect to it, there are people that connect to him on these digital platforms that will never step foot inside his church, that may not come to his conferences to hear him speak, but will follow him on Twitter, will connect with him on Facebook, the eChurch, or Internet TV, and all the different digital platforms that we have for him. And we see that these digital platforms help the message reach people right where they're at with this continually evolving method of technology that continues to progress at a rapid rate. So that's a great thing. Now, Valorie, this question is for you. And before I get to your question, Valorie, I must say, remember, everybody watching, you can submit questions via the Google Plus, the comment section, or on Twitter using the hashtag #InspiredMobility. And we're looking forward to your questions. So Valorie, this question is for you. Okay. Now, how do you personally use mobile tech and social media to stay connected with your fans, and how do those conversations inspire you as a life coach and an author?
Well, I thought my cell phone was right here, but they took it away from me so it wouldn't buzz. So it's constantly with my mobile phone, obviously having the apps there. So when I'm connecting with fans on the various social media platforms, on Instagram, on Facebook, on Twitter, etc., being able to do that very quickly. A lot of times for me, from a faith perspective, I will share things as I sense them. I might just say, okay, what's in my spirit right now that I want to share, and being able to do that very immediately. I have devotions on my phone, and I get reminders about them at 7 in the morning and at 7 in the evening. Here's your new devotional. That keeps me connected with the Word. My Bible is on my phone. My church app is on my phone, so I can go in and find all the sermons, and if there's one I just heard and I want to hear it again that week, being able to do that is really, really powerful. So there's a lot of different ways, and I often tweet right in the middle of the sermon. If it's good enough, I want to share it. You mentioned the Potter's House, and I was a member of the Potter's House, and I used to live in Dallas, and one of my girlfriends will almost probably at least every other week, I will get a text or something. Are you tuned in? Because it's live streaming right now, and it's really good. You need to hear this. I think so many of us, if we're using the technology in that way, when something moves us, we want to be able to share it. And I think that's such a powerful way to share our faith, to encourage one another, and so forth.
No, that's amazing on so many levels. I know with us at the Potter's House, we have our a way of staying connected with people, and we know that we can talk to people one-to-one on Twitter, Facebook, or one-to-many, and so that's one of the ways that you can always stay connected. One of the best benefits of social media. But before I go any further, Nikki, let's talk about how you personally use mobile technology and social media to stay connected with your audience.
Well, definitely. I'm always sharing tidbits. I take little screenshots of the Bible that I highlighted, and I'll put a message up of what, like Miss Valorie said, what's in my spirit and how I'm feeling, and also on my blog, if anything is troubling me or exciting me, I'm definitely just sharing it and putting it out there. And like you said, my mom always said, what comes from the heart goes to the heart, and so people respond to what you're feeling. If it's real and it's authentic, people are going to respond online like they're sitting there with you in your living room and share everything with you and be transparent because they feel your heart and they respond to it.
Yeah.
Oh, that's good. That's good. So, Valorie, I know that with you being a source of inspiration for quite a few people, have you ever had anywhere where something happened maybe on Twitter or Facebook that inspired you, maybe having a conversation with someone that inspired you to create something, maybe write a book or something like that based on that interaction?
You know what? It's very interesting because oftentimes I will, post a quote, something that's just a thought right here in this moment, and I will unexpectedly get an overwhelming response to it, and I realize that I have hit a nerve. I might then go write a column based on that, and I have had the experience of writing a column on something that then turned into a book because of the response from it. So the exciting thing about social media is that immediate response. You might put something out there you think is really great, and you're like, people didn't respond quite the way I thought, and then something else comes to you, you don't think it's a big deal, and there's a real emotional response, and you realize, hey, this is a real felt need, and is this something that I should expand upon and share more content about that will actually help people live more fulfilling lives, conquer their fears, all of that stuff that I do to help people get unstuck so they can be unstoppable. So sometimes it's almost like an automatic survey that you're doing in real time, and I think that's true not only as an author, but everyone has a platform. Whether you've got 50 friends, 50,000, 20 million, everybody has that ability to kind of feel the pulse of what's going on with people and what their thought process is through social media.
Mm-hmm.
No, absolutely, and I think that's what I use as well for crowdsourcing, I guess is one of the terms we can use for it, as far as when I'm looking for topics for the books I'm going to write or the topics that I'm going to speak about. And the thing I love about Twitter is using whatever hashtag, even a great one like Inspired Mobility, or other hashtags we have out there. I can jump into a conversation about a particular topic, or see what questions people are asking about a topic that I may want to write an article about, a blog about, or a chapter in a book, and then realize and see how many people really need to know the answers that I may have about that particular topic. And I think that's amazing with social media, because you don't have to reach out to find that information. We carry it with us every day, because again, studies shown we're never more than 2 or 3 feet away from our mobile devices at any given time. Yeah, that's a major thing. So speaking of how close we are to our mobile devices, let's talk about balance, because we know that technology and social media are obviously tools in and of themselves. They're neither good nor bad. But in Valorie, in your books, you talk about creating a balance in tech as far as and in relationships. So what are some suggestions you may have for people using these tools to have for inspiration to create a healthy balance in their lives?
Well, there's 2 things. They refer back to 2 of my books where I immediately think of it. One is in Happy Women Live Better. One of the happiness triggers is connection, and obviously, when we replace face-to-face connection with technology-only connection, there's going to be a ding to our happiness. We need a balance of both. And at the same time, it's important to recognize that connecting through technology is a form of connection, and it's better than no connection at all. But there is something that happens that's called upward social comparisons. When you're on social media a lot, it can be very easy to, you're looking at everyone else's highlight reel, you're comparing it to your behind the scenes, and you can begin to feel like, oh, my life's not exciting enough, or look what's going on with this person, look what they just got a job promotion, oh, look at their kids, look at their blah, 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 blah. So I think we do have to be very careful about overexposing ourselves to everyone else's social media feed and comparing it to our own, especially when we do that in a way that leaves us feeling like we're lacking. And then the other thing is from my book, How Did I Get So Busy?, where I suggest that you tame your tech habits if you are overzealous with your technology and you're constantly wired. Having a no-tech period, maybe it's at dinner, maybe it's after 10 p.m., figure out what works for you. If you actually find yourself feeling almost addicted to that phone, those text messages, and checking your social media, being able to cut yourself off from that for a period of time can give you a sense of balance. And I know for people like you, Jason, that might be harder than for others, right?
Yeah, that's an understatement. That's an understatement.
I saw your eyes starting to glaze over when I was saying no tech period.
Yes, but I have my reasons, Valerie, and I want you to chime in before I go over to Nikki. Now, I met my wife online about 12 years ago when it wasn't cool to meet people online. I was considered, the crazy internet guy when she introduced me to her friends and stuff like that. But the thing is, I was online all the time then. I met my wife. I make a living online doing online things just like we're doing now. My children are tech savvy and they do coding and they're online a lot. So our whole family spends a lot of time online. So much so that my wife she wants me to disconnect quite a bit. But I say, if I would have disconnected back then, I wouldn't have met you, sweetheart. So I think I'm just. I mean, so they say, here's what they say, and you let me know about this. They say when you have to do the same things you did to get her to keep her. And if I was online to get her, am I not just going with that, Valerie?
Well, okay, Jason, I will tell you this. My husband and I connected online as well. Although we went to middle and high school together, he tagged one of my books on Facebook. We've been Facebook friends. And so we connected online as well. But I got to tell you, I have to put down the Facebook so I can look right at him in his face, right? So I think it's really important that we pay attention to what our loved ones are saying to us about being overconnected, because who's most important to us? And I'm not talking about no technology at all. I'm talking about periods of time where we say, you know what? The people who are right here with me are more important than the people who are just out there. And so I block off this time to be fully present, because as human beings, we are wired to be fully present. There are things that happen when I look at you eye to eye. There are things that actually happen in the eyes. There are things that happen with touch that are so important to our well-being and to our happiness. And so we have to make sure we don't let those things go by the wayside.
That's true. That's true. I mean, you're only alive as you are able to live in the moment. So I agree with that. Nikki, do you have any words of wisdom about balance with technology?
Balance. I'm 31, so I'm still trying to figure out this balance as well. But like to piggyback off Miss Valerie, I have what I call social media sins, and so I often have to disconnect as well, because I would find myself, coveting people's lifestyles. So it's different now, because I can look online and I can see the vacation this person is on. I can see the new shoes they have. And so you have to find that balance. And when it's time to disconnect, when it's time to disconnect. Because, if you're rolling over and the first thing you're checking is Instagram as opposed to doing that devotional, it may be time to, reprioritize. So definitely figure out when it's time to do that and step back and then get back in and find the balance. But it's very hard.
Yeah, it is hard. And again, as a lot of times I always say, the lines are blurring between online and offline. For a lot of the things that happen in the offline real world, there's an online component to it. Likewise, things that happen online in a positive and negative sense can spill over into the offline, where we've seen something, somebody said something online and then the people had wanted to settle it offline, but we're not going to go into that with this conversation. But that's just about the blurring of the lines. And so, and now, so let's change topics real quick. And since we're talking about mobile devices and we were talking about worship experiences before, Pew Research Center recently released some findings on cell phone etiquette. So, Valorie, what do you think are some practical tips for people and organizations seeking to use mobile tech for inspiration and faith-based? So, kind of in church etiquette as well as outside of that.
Yeah, if you've ever had the experience of reading your Bible on your phone and you get that look, it's like, are you texting while you're in church? So everybody's not there. I do think it's important for us to be respectful of people around us. Everybody's not using technology the way that we are. So if we're shooting, video in church, being aware that not everybody wants to necessarily be on video or taking photos and so forth, turning off those chimes, anything that's going to make noise. I think that sometimes we can get a little lax about the etiquette around phones, around texting. I mean, pay attention, not walking and looking at your phone at the same time. All of those are very simple things, but those are the things that cause people to have a negative perception of technology as well, that it's very impersonal, because what can happen when we're using our technology is we're so engrossed with the people inside of whatever social media or whatever it is that we're doing that we are completely oblivious to the people that are right there around us. And I think that can be very, very tragic. So if we can have a balance of being able to use the technology to enhance the experience while at the same time engaging with the people around us, noticing the people around us, and being courteous of them, I think all of those things are tremendously important.
I totally agree.
Particularly from a faith perspective. From a faith perspective, if you are supposed to be exemplifying your faith, then are you using your technology reflective of being kind, of being loving, of being considerate of other people? And that sounds so basic, but we are talking about faith. And so it's pretty bad when we lose people because perhaps we are not being as courteous as we could.
Understood. So as we start to, before we get to the questions that Nikki has, I want to ask you this question, Nikki, and then I'm going to go over to you, Valorie. But Nikki, this conversation we're having about this inspiration and technology and the way it's utilized, especially mobile technology that we carry around with us at all times, why do you think this conversation is so important?
It's important because what did you say earlier? Like at any given moment, we're like 2 to 3 feet away from our phone. I mean, mine is right here. So, I mean, it's dominating our lifestyle. I can ask my niece, who is 3 years old, how to do something on an iPad, and she can do it. Not even research it. They know how to do it at a young age. So clearly, technology isn't going anywhere. It's a part of our lives forever. So this conversation is very relevant and necessary.
Absolutely. And Valorie, again, what do you think? Why do you think this conversation is important?
Well, for one thing, we have to recognize that technology is only going to increase. And if we want to not only build our faith personally, but if we want our faith to grow from a cultural perspective, we have to embrace technology and find those positive ways to allow technology to perpetuate the love that our faith professes. So I think this is extremely important because there are so many ways people can reach inspirational messages and other messages. And if the church falls behind, and in some ways many churches really have, you lose people. They're going to find it somewhere. It might not be the right message, but they will find a message. And so I think that if you are going to perpetuate the gospel, you're going to perpetuate your faith, technology is not, it's not a question of will you. it's how, and how are you going to engage in bigger and bigger ways over time to be able to use that technology as a powerful tool to be able to share your faith.
Mm. You're absolutely right. If I think it's very important, because if we've seen the evolution of technology going back to stone tablets, to parchments, to scrolls, to the printing press that got books into everybody's hands, to radio, to TV, to regular internet with the computers, now to mobile technology, we're just seeing that it's continually to progress at a rapid rate. And the things that we haven't even gotten to now, that as we continue this Inspire Mobility campaign that we'll talk about, which would be Internet of Things, Internet in cars, virtual reality, it's all coming rapidly. And so as we talk about relevance, which Valorie was talking about very much so, and you, Nikki, if we look at the younger generations as they're coming up, these digital natives who are always connected, always broadcasting themselves, which is good and bad, but they're all content creators and they're all technically savvy. So for the houses of worship to stay relevant, they're going to have to reach them right where they're at. And so in order to reach them where they're at, it's going to be on these social media platforms, on these mobile platforms using apps, on these internet TV platforms, on the stuff that we can't even conceive right now. That's going to be normal to them. So the stuff that they're seeing now, this is old technology to them. In 10 years, when they're hitting their primes, they're going to look back and laugh at the stuff that we think is mind-boggling now. That's why these conversations are definitely very relevant, and we're happy that AT&T has given us the Inspire Mobility campaign and platform to have this conversation and help keep this conversation going in the online space. So, with that being stated, Nikki, it's time for some questions. What do you have?
Okay, so this is a very good question. The first one is, how do you feel about paying your tithes and offering online or mobile app versus in person during service?
Okay, go ahead, Valorie. What do you think about that?
Okay, so I think that if you are very, very intentional about how you budget and how you want to handle things, it can be extremely efficient and consistent to be able to set up an automatic withdrawal or an automatic payment from your debit card, etc. I think it's personal preference. But I do know that there is that awkward feeling when you pay online and then you're sitting there in church and the basket's going around and you kind of want to say, hey, I gave. I know that sounds terrible, but you know, I think there is that. But I think it's fantastic because you do have people who aren't able to service. They would like to be able to contribute. This is a very easy way to do it, and I think that's really important for churches, because asking somebody to remember to write the check, put it in an envelope, find the address to the church, mail the check, when they might not be coming into service, and we're talking about people watching from all over the country. And so there are many churches, especially large ones, that have these big digital platforms that have many donors that are nowhere in their local area, and so that online is very important in that regard as well.
That's exactly, you hit the nail on the head, Valorie. The thing that we're seeing happening is you have these digital platforms and you have these organizations that give you all these online ways to donate, whether it be the app, the website, text to give, etc. But when it comes to the actual service, they go back to their traditions, which is, hold up your envelope, we're going to bless this, and then they pass the bucket around, not considering that a part of your online giving or part of your giving process is the online part of that. And so who's ever leading the service, that they're still doing what traditionally they've always done, and not considering that right now, currently, it's easier to give online for a lot of people than it is to write a check. If people are even still writing checks, a lot of the people that they're trying to reach don't write checks anymore. They'll give online. So
Everybody under about 50, I don't think,
see,
write checks nearly as much. I mean, certainly under 40. So, you
see,
know,
that's
many
what
have checkbooks in their 20s.
exactly. And so what we need to do is say, hold up your envelope and hold up your cell phone and whatever else you gave, and hold up your Apple Watch and all the rest of the stuff for the ways you gave, and that way it'll be more impactful because there are multiple ways to give. So if we're going to acknowledge giving, then acknowledge the multiple ways and not the traditional way that you saw growing up.
Yeah. I look at it like this. If you want me to give my first fruit, I need to be able to give online because I'm liable to go shopping and not have my first fruits available. So, yeah. Okay, Jason, this question is for you. What advice do you have for smaller churches without the same resources as some mega churches?
Yeah, that's a question we get a lot, especially when I'm speaking at the Passion Leadership Conference that we have with TD Jakes Ministries. The thing about it is, no matter the size of the church, they can have the impact and look like a mega church online. So what I tell them to do is you need to look for the platforms that can give you the same impact as a large church, but you don't have to pay what it costs to that a large church may pay. And so a lot of things, not to go into all of that, but a lot of things I talk about, this in the book, The iChurch Method, which you guys can see right there. So, but basically that's exactly what it is. It's about finding the platforms to utilize stuff like that. So for example, if we're talking about internet church, which we've been talking about quite a bit today, people think that costs thousands of dollars. Well, no, churchonlineplatform.com is a free platform to do internet church. And there are quite a few free options that I talk about that give you the same impact, look, and feel that mega churches are using. And you could have a Bible study, in your mom's basement.
Yep. Okay. For people who don't attend a place of worship for whatever reason, what are some ways they can still experience community via mobile tech?
Okay. Valorie, what you got some input on that?
I definitely think finding those, and this is coming from an author, but finding those authors, spiritual leaders, ministers, whose message resonates with you, and finding them online and being able to connect within those communities, I think can be very powerful. There's just a lot of back and forth chatter in social media among people who find a particular person's style of interest. I think that's a really great place to be able to start. And then I think that it's important to connect into a place of worship of some sort. And if there is small groups in your area, if there are digital platforms connected to that ministry or that place of worship, make sure you get involved with those. I say start with the message that's resonating with you and then see what's available through that particular person or that particular ministry.
Yeah, I agree. Valerie. I think with the first thing you said was connecting. Let's say we're talking about authors. Let's say somebody wants to connect with an author named Valorie Burton. There, if you look at Twitter seems to be the easiest way to connect with people of influence like Valorie, who talk to a lot of people, but can also, if you send her, at Valorie Burton, her Twitter, and she responds, then you're talking to her one-on-one. The way I've been able to connect with different influencers or different people mainly has been Twitter, and so I think that's one of the social platforms that seems to has taken down the barrier, the obstacles traditionally that we've seen between influencers, celebrities, etc., and people that normal people that just go about everyday life. And so when you find somebody who has a message that Valorie was saying that resonates with you, and I'll give Bishop Jakes for example. I was at a conference and somebody asked me, "Hey, really, how can I connect with Bishop Jakes? I just want to talk to him." And they was like, I sent emails in, and it just gets lost in the millions of emails that he gets that's sent to his office. And I said, your best bet is Twitter. Secondly, that is Instagram. And those ways you can you might be able to get in touch with them much easier than the traditional methods. And so Twitter to me is number one as far as how you can look and from a mobile community start to connect with people and then start to really follow those messages and as they resonate with the way you live.
It's interesting you say that, Jason, because on Twitter and Instagram, very easy to connect with that person. But I will also say on Facebook, in terms of community, that message, when I put out a post, it stays around longer, and people are commenting and going back and forth. And I thought it was just me. I mean, I have probably 12 times as many fans on Facebook as Twitter. But then I began to notice similar authors in my genre, and all of us had this disparity between Facebook users and Twitter users. And I was like, what is that about? And it might just be that we tend to attract a lot of women of faith of, let's say, 30 to 50, maybe 25 to 55, somewhere in there, and they're hanging out on Facebook. And so, you know, figure out where whoever you're trying to reach, figure out what seems to work best with them. But I don't know if there's any. I think Nikki mentioned African Americans having a high use on Facebook, but I think that's very interesting because from a personal perspective, you know, 250,000 Facebook fans versus 16 or so thousand Twitter followers. I couldn't really explain that, but I think part of it is that message stays around for a while and people have more opportunity to comment on it, whereas on Twitter, it comes and then it's gone.
Good point. Good point. I know the stream on Facebook is a little different. It works much better than the fire hose that you get on Twitter of information. So that is very true. Okay, Nikki, what else you got?
Okay, I believe this is the last question, and it's from Brother Tech. And he says, what are some ways folks break church tech etiquette during service?
I'll let Valorie go first.
Oh, really, Jason?
I got some.
I think it's very rude to text during church. I think that it's very important to turn off, like I said, turn off buzzers, things that are ringing, and so it's just very distracting. So I think the most important thing is honoring where you are when you're in a place of worship. And if you're using the mobile technology to enhance whatever the message is, making sure you keep it to that and maybe putting the device away during the rest of the message, so it's not like you're just completely distracted and not paying any attention or being right there in the moment. But I would definitely say anything that disturbs the people around you, anytime that you're really not paying any attention, those things are breaking etiquette.
Yeah, I think the one major thing I can recall that I've seen, in addition to what you stated, Valorie, especially with the forgetting to turn the phone off, but that's norm. We see that all the time in a whole bunch of places. But we were talking earlier about as being technology being a distraction. So I've seen people. Some people are going to their Bible, some people are going to the mobile app to give, some people are going to that, and some people are just going to sites that have no church affiliation, worship affiliation, or anything at all. And so whether it be Angry Birds or some site that they have no business looking at during service, I've seen all of that happen in different services at church, numerous churches I've been to around the country. So that's the one thing I think has been the worst thing about church etiquette or mobile etiquette in a church service is not realizing or respecting that you're in a worship service, so feeling like you can just look at anything, and then of course everybody can see what you're doing. So your screen's not hidden, and so it becomes a distraction for everybody around you.
Yep.
So okay, cool. Are we done? Is that the questions?
Yes, we're done.
All right. Okay. Well, this was great, and I want to thank Valorie and Nikki for making the first Inspired Mobility Hangout of this year, 2015, a success, and we thank everybody who tuned in and submitted questions. First, I want to let everybody know, Nikki, can you tell people how to stay in touch with you?
Yes, they can stay in touch with me on Twitter at Nikki in the City, and also visit my site www.nikkicarpenter.com.
All right. And Valorie, how can people connect with you?
Well, they can always find me on Facebook, which I've mentioned a couple times, facebook.com/Valorie Burton, keeping in mind Valorie is Valorie Burton, and online on our website, which has my blog that I put out a couple times a week, and that's at ValorieBurton.com as well.
All right, thank you. And people can stay connected with me, ichurchmethod.com, and at Jason Caston on Twitter. Tune back in next month. We'll be talking with social media expert James Andrews about the future of social media for social good. And make sure you join us this weekend for Social Media Sunday. For those of you who are new to Social Media Sunday, it is traditionally a day where we encourage people of faith to share the gospel and be the church online. This can come in the form of sharing inspirational quotes from the sermon, posting pictures of the experience, and tagging others to help them feel the same uplifting emotion that is stirred within the pews. So this Sunday, August 30th, whether you attend church, live stream a Sunday service, or listen to inspirational music while getting ready for the upcoming week, or just have some motivating, encouraging words of wisdom that you see on any platform, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, etc., you can participate in this next Social Media Sunday. Join the conversation on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram using the hashtag Inspired Mobility. Share an inspirational message with your network. Post a positive quote of scripture while you're in your faith service. And again, when you're doing that, don't forget to mute your phone or tablet, as Valorie has let us know is not good cell phone etiquette. All right. Tell your friends, family, and congregation, organization about the movement, and invite them to join you, and tag members of your social network and your church home to let them know you want to reach them with the uplifting message. Okay. And until next time, remember to share all your inspirational quotes, videos, any type of inspirational media on the internet using the hashtag Inspire Mobility, and check out about.att.com, keyword Inspire Mobility, for more information. And we appreciate you taking time to watch this. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.